ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends, this is 11th video on Talks with Ramana Maharshi. This video starts with talk number 181. Devotee, yad gatvana nivartante tad dharma pramam mama. Which is that Dhamma? Is it not the absolute state beyond cosmic consciousness? Maharshi replies, yes. Devotee, na nivartante would mean not covered by ignorance again. Maharshi, yes. Devotee, does it follow by inference that those who reach cosmic consciousness have not escaped from the clutches of ignorance? Maharshi, that is what is meant by saying that all lokas, even the Brahma loka, do not release one from rebirth. Wide the Bhagavad Gita, means this is taken from Bhagavad Gita, reaching me there is no rebirth. All others are in bondage. Moreover, so long as you think that there is gati, movement, as implied in the word gatva, having gone to, there is punravirati, return, means repetition. Also, again, gati implies your purva gamanam, birth. What is birth? It is birth of ego. Once born, you reach something. If you reach it, you return also. Therefore, leave off all this verbiage. Be as you are. See who you are and remain as the self, free from birth, going, coming and returning. Devotee, true. However, often this truth is heard, still it eludes us and we forget it. Mercy, quite so. Reminders are often necessary. Talk 182. In the course of the day, an interesting photo was missing. Sri Bhagwan appeared concerned about it. Mr. Friedman asked how Sri Bhagwan viewed all these matters. Sri Bhagwan said, suppose you dream that you are taking me to Poland. You wake up and ask me, I dreamed so and so. Did you dream so or know it? Or how do you view it? Devotee, but you are not aware of the happening in front of you. Mercy, these are all workings of the mind and the questions also. Then again Sri Bhagwan related an episode in Sri Rama's search for Sita. Parvati asked Shiva why Rama, the perfect being, was grieving at the loss of Sita. Shiva said that Rama was still perfect. If the perfection need be tested and made clear, Parvati might appear as Sita before Rama and see what happened. So she did. Rama ignored her appearance and was still crying out, Ha, Sita, and moved on like a blind man without taking any notice of Parvati. 13th March 1936. Talk number 183. A gentleman from Bombay said, I asked Mother in Sri Aurobindo Ashram the following question. I keep my mind blank without thoughts arising so that God might show himself in his true being, but I do not perceive anything. The reply was to this effect. The attitude is right. The power will come down from above. It is a direct experience. So he asked what further he should do. Mercy, be what you are. There is nothing to come down or become manifest. All that is needful is to lose the ego. That what it is always there. Even now, you are that. You are not apart from it. The blank is seen by you. You are there to see the blank. What do you wait for? The thought, I have not seen, the expectation to see, and the desire of getting something are all the working of the ego. You have fallen into the snares of the ego. The ego says all these and not you. Be yourself and nothing more. Talk 184. Mercy. To imagine Mooladhara at the bottom, the heart at the center, or the head at the top, or over all these is all wrong. In one word, to think is not your real nature. Talk number 185. Maharshi. In the sacred literature, the following are seen. Said without uttering, showed remaining still as ever, etc. Which is this unspoken word? It is only silence. Parnava or the Mahavakya. These are also called the word. Talk 186. Maharishi. We read a newspaper and all the articles therein, but do not care to know anything about the paper itself. We take the chaff but not the substance. The substratum on which all this is printed is the paper, and if we know the substratum, all else will be known, like wall and paintings. Devotee, you said the only one which exists is the real. What is that only one? Mercy, the one only is the Sat, the existence that appears as the world, the things that we see and we ourselves. Devotee, what is Atma? Is there a finality for the Atma? Maharshi, first learn what is Atma. If we know this, then we can query as to whether it has a finality or not. Which do you call Atma? Devotee, Jiva is Atma. Maharshi, learn what Jiva is. What is the difference between Jiva and Atma? Is Jiva itself Atma? Or is there any separate thing as Atma? There is an end for what you observe. That which is created has a destruction or end. That which is not created has no end. That which exists cannot be observed. It is unobservable. We must find out what it is that appears. The destruction of that which appears is the end. That which exists forever. That which newly appears is later lost. Devotee, what happens after birth in human form? What happens to the Jiva? Maharshi, let us know first what we are. We do not understand what we are, and until we know what we are, there is no room for such a question. Bhagwan obviously here refers to the confusion of body as Atma, Deh Atma Buddhi, which is the cause for this confusion of ideas of death and birth. For Atma has no birth or death. It is untainted by the elements of earth, fire, air, and water, etc. Gita, chapter 2, Shloka 11. Asochayam anvo sochas tavam prajna vadamas ascha bhasse, etc. Meaning is, what is that had birth? Whom do you call a man? If, instead of seeking explanation for birth, death and after death matters, the question is raised as to who and how you are now, these questions will not arise. You are the same while asleep, deep sleep, in dream and in waking state. Is the I thought Jiva or the body Jiva? Is this thought or nature? Or is the experience that we live, etc., our nature? Quotes the sloka from the Gita. Devotee, why is Atma Vichara necessary? Maharshi, if you do not make Atma Vichara, then Loka Vichara creeps in. That which is not is sought for, but not that which is obvious. When once you have found what you seek, Vichara, that is inquiry, also ceases, and you rest in it. As long as one is confusing the body with the Atma, Atma is said to be lost and one is said to seek for it. But the Atma itself is never lost. It always exists. A body is said to be Atma, an Indriya is said to be Atma, then there is the Jivatma and Paramatma and what not. There are 1,001 things called Atma. The search for Atma is to know that which is really Atma. This is a very, very important point. When Atma is present in the human body and it exists with prana, so this Atma present in the body with coexist with prana, so we call it Jiva. So Atma and Paramatma is same. Atma does not depend upon anything, it is self-independent. And here Jivatma, what we call, the Atma when it is embodied in the body, we call this Atma as Jivatma. So we have to be careful, we should not mix Jivatma and Atma. Samadhi, Kevala and Sahaja. So this is to be explained by Maharshi. Talk number 187. Devotee. See, I'll just explain simply. When ego, vasanas and mind are destroyed, so there is pure and real Atma. This state is called superconscious state or samadhi. Now, talk number 187. Devotee. I maintain that the physical body of the man sunk in samadhi as a result of unbroken contemplation of the self becomes motionless for that reason. It may be active or inactive. The mind fixed in such contemplation will not be affected by the body or the senses being restless. A disturbance of the mind is not always the forerunner of physical activity. Another man asserts that physical unrest certainly prevents nirvikalpa samadhi or unbroken contemplation. What is your opinion? You are the standing proof of my statement. This is the question put by the devotee. I will repeat again. Talk number, these are very, very important points. Talk number 187, devotee puts a question to Maharshi. He says, I maintain that the physical body of the man sunk in samadhi as a result of unbroken contemplation of the self becomes motionless for that reason. It may be active or inactive. The mind fixed in such contemplation will not be affected by the body or the senses being restless. A disturbance of the mind is not always the forerunner of physical activity. Another man asserts that physical unrest certainly prevents nirvikalpa samadhi or unbroken contemplation. What is your opinion? You are the standing proof of my statement. Maharshi, both of you are right. You refer to Sahaja Nirvikalpa and the other refer to Kevala Nirvikalpa. In the one case, the mind lies immersed in the light of the self, whereas the same lies in the darkness of ignorance in deep sleep. The subject discriminates one from the other. Samadhi, stirring up from samadhi and activity thereafter, unrest of the body, of the sight of the vital force and of the mind, the cognizance of objects and activity are all obstructions for him. In Sahaja, however, the mind has resolved itself into the self and has been lost. The differences and obstructions mentioned above do not therefore exist here. The activities of such a being are like the feeding of a somnolent boy, perceptible to the onlooker but not to the subject. The driver sleeping on his moving cart is not aware of the motion of the cart because his mind is sunk in darkness. Similarly, the Sahaja Jnani remains unaware of his bodily activities because his mind is dead, having been resolved in the ecstasy of Chit Ananda. What is that Chit Ananda? Self, Atma. The two words contemplation and samadhi have been used loosely in the question. Contemplation is a forced mental process, whereas samadhi lies beyond effort. When mind comes into picture, because what is contemplation? Thinking about some object, some points. So here mind comes into the picture. And when mind is completely out of picture, that is only Sahja Samadhi. So here comparison is made, that is sleep, Kevala and Sahja. In sleep, mind is alive. In Kevala, mind is alive. In Sahja, mind is dead. Second point, in sleep, mind sunk in oblivion. In Kevala, sunk in light, mind is sunk in light. And in Sahja, mind is resolved into the self. That is, it has merged into the self. Now, in Kevala, third point, like a bucket with the rope left lying in the water in a well. In Sahja, third point, like a river discharged into the ocean and its identity lost. Fourth, to be drawn out by the other end of the rope. Fourth, a river cannot be redirected from the ocean. That means in Sahja Samadhi, simple thing, mind is completely lost. That Samadhi is known as Sahja Samadhi. When mind is not completely dead and there is mind in the picture, that time the Samadhi is there, but that Samadhi is called Kevala Samadhi, Savikalpa Samadhi or Kevala Samadhi. And when there is no thought, no mind, no contemplation, that is the Sahja Samadhi, when mind is completely lost, ego is completely destroyed. So in real Samadhi is Sahja Samadhi, when there is no ego, no vasana, no mind, no thought, no contemplation. And when these things are present, that is Savikalpa Samadhi. Talk number 188. The essence of mind is only awareness or consciousness. When the ego, however, dominates it, it functions as the reasoning, thinking, or sensing faculty. The cosmic mind, being not limited by the ego, has nothing separate from itself and is therefore only aware. This is what the Bible means by I am that I am. The ego-ridden mind has its strength sapped and is too weak to resist the torturing thoughts. The egoless mind is happy in deep, dreamless sleep. Clearly, therefore, bliss and misery are only modes of mind. But the weak mode is not easily interchangeable with the strong mode. Activity is weakness and consequently miserable. Passivity is strength and therefore blissful. The dormant strength is not apparent and therefore not availed of. Talk number 189. Mr. M. Oliver Lacombe, a middle-aged Frenchman who was on a visit to India, being delegated by the Institute of Indian Civilization of the University of Paris, came here from French India. Among others, he had desired to meet Maharshi. He came and stayed here about 3 hours. He had read in the Sanskrit original the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads and the Sutras with commentaries by Sri Shankara and Ramanuja. He asked, is Maharishi's teaching the same as Shankara's? Maharishi's teaching is only an expression of his own experience and realization. Others find that it tallies with Sri Shankara's. Devotee, quite so. Can it be put in other ways to express the same realization? Maharishi. A realized person will use his own language. Sri Bhagavan added, silence is the best language. What is silence? Let us visualize. When mind is dead, the state of thoughtlessness is silence. People think that not talking with the mouth is known as silence. No. The state of thoughtlessness, when thoughts do not rise from the Atma, this state is known as silence. So we should be very clear. Devotee, what does Maharshi say about Hatha Yoga or Tantric practices? Maharshi does not criticize any of the existing methods. All are good for the purification of the mind, because the purified mind alone is capable of grasping his method and sticking to its practice. What is the method of Maharshi? Self-enquiry. Enquiry about the ego. What is ego? Where from it rises? So when we say who am I, here who is the query is who am is existence, I is here ego. So when we contemplate on who am I, the question is raised to the existence of this ego. What is ego? Where from it rises? So that is the most important question. Who am I means ego is questioned. What you are, where from you have risen. So this who am I is a very, very good method, because slowly and steadily it weakens the mind and ego. And finally both mind and ego are destroyed and person reaches the stage of self-realization. Devotee, which is the best of the different yogas, karma, jnana, bhakti or hatha? Maharshi, see stanza 10 of Upadesa Sara. To remain in the self amounts to all these in their highest sense. Maharshi added, in dreamless sleep, there is no world, no ego, no unhappiness. But the self remains. In the waking state, there are all these, and yet there is self. One has only to remove the transitory happenings in order to realize the ever-present beatitude of the self. Your nature is bliss. Find that on which all the rest are superimposed, and you then remain as the pure self. Devotee. Yes, it amounts to the removal of alien limitations for discovering the ever present self. That is what Sankara says. There is no attainment or loss. Mercy, quite so. Aside, he understands. Devotee, how is work to be done ordinarily for an aspirant? Mercy, without self-identification with the actor. For instance, did you intend visiting this place while in Paris? Devotee, no. Mercy, you see how you are acting without your intention to do so. The Gita says that a man cannot remain without acting. The purpose of one's birth will be fulfilled whether you will it or not. Let the purpose fulfill itself. Devotee, why are there so many methods mentioned? For instance, Sri Ramakrishna says that bhakti is the best means for salvation. Mercy, it is according to the standpoint of the aspirant. You have studied the Gita. Sri Krishna said, there was never a time when I and you and these kings were not, nor will they not be in future. That which is unreal never exists, but that which is real never disappears. All that ever was, even now is, and will ever be. Again, I taught this truth to Aditya. He taught it to Manu. Krishna says these things. Manu, etc. Arjuna asked, how can it be? You were born some years back and only recently. How could you have taught Aditya? Sri Krishna answered, yes, we have had several births in the past. I know mine, whereas you do not know yours. I tell you what happened in those past births. Look, that Krishna who began saying there was not I, nor were you, nor these kings, says now that he had several births before. Krishna does not contradict himself, though it looks like it. He conforms to the outlook of Arjuna and speaks to him from his level. There is a parallel passage in the Bible where Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. The teachings of the sages are suited to the time, place, people and other surroundings. The visitor said he was leaving with regret. Maharshi smilingly interrupted, there is no leaving or returning. The Frenchman at once said, he has transcended time and space. He returned to Pondicherry. Talk number 190. There is a pet squirrel in the hall, which usually, this is 30th May 1936. Talk number 190. There is a pet squirrel in the hall which usually retires into its cage before nightfall. Just as Maharshi was telling it to retire for the night, a visitor who had announced that he had attained the transcendent consciousness suggested that water might be offered to it since it was likely to be thirsty on this hot evening. His presumption to understand animals evoked no response. He repeated it. After a few minutes' silence, Mercy said, "You are probably thirsty after your long meditation in the hot sun on the hotter rocks, and you would like to drink a jug of water." Devotee, quite so, I have taken water. Mercy, the squirrel is not so thirsty because you were practicing austerities in the heat of the sun. You should feel thirsty. Why prescribe it for the squirrel? Mercy added, I noticed him standing on the hot rocks facing the sun with eyes closed. I stood there for a while but did not want to disturb him and came away. These people do as they please. Devotee, what I did not intend beforehand. It was spontaneous. Mercy, oh, I see. Whatever we others do, we do with intention. You seem to have transcended all. Devotee, this is not the first time I did so. You yourself inspire me and make me to do all these things. Yet you ask me why I did it. How is it? Mercy, I see. You are doing actions being controlled by me. Then the fruits also should be considered similarly to be mine and not yours. Devotee, so they are undoubtedly. I act not of my free will but inspired by you. I have no will of my own. Mercy. Enough of this rubbish. So did Duryodhana of old in the Mahabharata say. Janami dharmam nacha me parvavartihi. Janam ya dharmam nacha mi nirvirtihi. केनपि देवना हृदय सिद्धतेना यथा नियुक्तो समित्था करोमि. What is the difference between you and two? Devotee, I see no difference, but I have no will and act without it. Mercy, you have risen high above the common run. We others are acting with personal will. Devotee, how, sir? You have said in one of your works that action can be automatic. Mercy, enough. You and another visitor behave as transcendental beings. You are both fully learned. You need not learn more. I would not have said all this had you not been coming here frequently. Do as you please. But these eccentricities of the beginner's stage will become known in their true light after some time. But I have been in this state for such a long time, devotee says, but I have been in this state for such a long time. Mercy, enough. Talk number 191. Mr. Cohen, a resident disciple, was speaking of yoga method. Maharshi remarked, Patanjali's first sutra is applicable to all systems of yoga. The aim is the cessation of mental activities. The methods differ so long as there is effort made towards that goal. It is called yoga. The effort is the yoga. The cessation can be brought about in so many ways. Number one, by examining the mind itself. When the mind is examined, its activities cease automatically. This is the method of jnana. The pure mind is the self. Second, looking for the source of the mind is another method. The source may be said to be God or self or consciousness. Third, concentrating upon one thought make all other thoughts disappear. Finally, that thought also disappears. And fourth is Hatha Yoga. All methods are one and the same inasmuch as they all tend to the same goal. It is necessary to be aware while controlling thoughts, otherwise, it will lead to sleep. That awareness, the chief factor, is indicated by the fact of Patanjali emphasizing pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi even after pranayama. Pranayama makes the mind steady and suppresses thoughts. Then why 12 further? Because awareness then is the one necessary factor. Such states can be imitated by taking morphia, chloroform, etc. They do not lead to moksha because they lack awareness. 3rd June 1936. Talk number 192. Maharshi explained in the course of conversation, whoever desires liberation, everyone wants only happiness. Happiness too is found in the enjoyment of the senses. This question was asked of a guru, and the latter answered, quite so. That happiness which is the result of enjoyment by the senses is the same as that of liberation. That desire of such liberation is one of the 4 qualifications for attainment. This is common to all. So all are eligible for this knowledge, self-knowledge. In fact, there may not be found any individual in the world who possesses all the quantities in perfection necessary for an aspirant as mentioned in Yoga Sutra. Still, pursuit of self-knowledge should not be abandoned. Self-knowledge should not be abandoned. Everyone is the self by his own experience. Still he is not aware. He identifies the self with the body and feels miserable. This is the greatest of all mysteries. One is the self. Why not abide as the self and be done with miseries? In the beginning, one has to be told that he is not the body because he thinks that he is the body only, whereas he is the body and all else. The body is only a part. Let him know it finally. He must first discern consciousness from insentience and be the consciousness only. Later, let him realize that insentience is not apart from consciousness. This is a discrimination, viveka. The initial discrimination must persist to the end. Its fruit is liberation. Talk number 193. Maharshi observed, free will and destiny are ever existent. Destiny is the result of past action. It concerns the body. Let the body act as may suit it. Why are you concerned with it? Why do you pay attention to it? Free will and destiny last as long as the body lasts. But wisdom, jnana, transcends both. The self is beyond knowledge and ignorance. Should anything happen, it happens as the result of one's past actions, of divine will and of other factors. Talk number 194. Mr. Subba Rao, a visitor from Amalapuram, asked how to control the mind. Mercy, get hold of the mind. Devotee, how? Mercy, mind is intangible. In fact, it does not exist. The surest way of control is to seek it. Then its activities cease. 6th June 1936, talk number 195. Mr. Jharka, a gentleman from the University of Banaras, holding the MA and the MSc degrees, said that he was stricken with grief due to bereavement of wife and children. He sought peace of mind and asked how to get it. Mercy, it is in the mind that birth and death, pleasure and pain, in short, the world and ego exist. If the mind is destroyed, all these are destroyed too. Note that it should not be annihilated, not just made latent. For the mind is dormant in sleep, it does not know anything. Still, on waking up, you are as you were before. There is no end of grief. But if the mind be destroyed, the grief will have no background and will disappear along with the mind. Devotee, how to destroy the mind? Mercy, seek the mind. On being sought, it will disappear. Devotee, I do not understand. Mercy, the mind is only a bundle of thoughts. The thoughts arise because there is the thinker. The thinker is the ego. The ego, if sought, will vanish automatically. The ego and the mind are the same. The ego is the root thought from which all other thoughts arise. Devotee, how to seek the mind? Maharshi, drive within. You are now aware that the mind rises from within, so sink within and seek. Devotee, I do not yet understand how it is to be done. Mercy, you are practicing breath control. Mechanical breath control will not lead one to the goal. It is only an aid. While doing it mechanically, take care to be alert in mind and remember the I thought and seek its source. Then you will find that where breath sinks, there I thought arises. They sink and rise together. The I thought also will sink along with the breath. Simultaneously, another luminous and infinite I will become manifest, which will be continuous and unbroken. That is the goal. It goes by different names: God, Self, Kundalini Shakti, consciousness, yoga, bhakti, jnana, etc. Devotee says, not clear yet. Mercy, when the attempt is made, it will of itself take you to the goal. So I end the video here, my dear friends. Thank you for watching and listening this video with patience. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar.